apparently Anthony Joshua versus Jarrell Miller has broken pre-sale, the pre-sale ticket record at MSG for a boxing event. I don't know how long they've had pre-sale tickets at MSG. Is it a relatively new phenomenon over the past few years? Is it something that goes back many decades for boxing events? I don't know. Maybe some of you guys who have done that research can enlighten me in the comment section below. I have to imagine though that they did have pre-sale tickets for the Canelo fight. Correct me if I'm wrong. When Canelo fought at MSG recently. And if Anthony Joshua's pre-sale tickets have done better than Canelo's pre-sale tickets at MSG, that's a big deal. Let's not get it twisted. So forget about the whole historical thing. Just the fact that he outsold Canelo in pre-sale tickets, that is major for AJ. Okay, and that may be indicative of tremendous star power. Now, who's buying up these pre-sale tickets? Is it American fans? Is it British fans? Is it Eddie Hearn himself? Because that's what he's being accused of, by the way. Mainly Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fans are accusing Eddie Hearn of buying up all these pre-sale tickets himself and then selling them on the secondary market. And I'll do a separate video about that and why people believe that he's done that. I mean, well, we know why people want to believe he's done that, but is there any validity to that particular suspicion? All right, I'll cover that in a separate video. But certainly when I first heard this news, I was a little surprised and a little puzzled as to how Joshua Miller has set this record, because Anthony Joshua is unknown in the US pretty much. Jarrell Miller is virtually unknown in the US. Unless his fan base, Jarrell Miller, are more loyal than I realized in New York City, because, you know, this fight is in New York City, so you never know. Maybe Jarrell Miller's got some hardcore, some diehards, and they were the ones who went in there and bought up the pre-sale tickets. I don't know. I was kind of puzzled when I saw this headline, to be honest with you. But who knows what's really going on? Maybe it's a combination of all the different factors that I've just talked about. Maybe there's an element of Miller's fan base being a little stronger in NYC than I realized. Maybe there's an element of AJ's fans, of course, who regularly turn up in droves, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000 to watch him at Wembley or the Principality Stadium. Maybe there's an element of those people who have snapped up packages to go over to NYC and watch this fight. I do know somebody actually in my boxing group who said that he's already got AJ versus Miller tickets. Shout out to Joe. He knows who he is. He says he's got his tickets for AJ versus Miller. So yeah, maybe it's just AJ's traveling army. Maybe he does have a traveling army that can rival the likes of a Frank Bruno, a Ricky Hatton. I'd be surprised if he does, but maybe I've underestimated his fan base, and maybe I'm a little out of touch, because I'm an older guy and I'm out of touch with popular culture in Britain to some degree. All right, I don't watch television, for example. I haven't watched television. Well, I haven't owned a television in over a decade now. So maybe I'm a little out of touch and I don't realize that people actually do connect with a politically correct, generic public personality like Anthony Joshua. Because Anthony Joshua is fantastically exciting in the ring, but outside of the ring, he's very PC, very generic, you know, very BBC personality. That's the way Anthony Joshua comes across. And I had figured that people wouldn't be as passionate about that kind of character as they would a Ricky Hatton, you know, an everyman, somebody who working class Britain can relate to with Ricky Hatton, or even Tyson Fury. You know, a lot of working class people in the UK, increasing numbers of them, are looking at Tyson Fury and they're saying, okay, I can relate to this guy. He seems like somebody that I would know. He seems like somebody I could go for a drink with, you know? Whereas with AJ, I just had the impression that his fans wouldn't be as passionate as the fans of Fury and Ricky Hatton, that it's a different kind of demographic. It's a more middle class and lower middle class demographic that follow Anthony Joshua. People who, champagne sippers who are a little, a little bit yuppie, a little bit posh maybe. Don't get it twisted. Anthony Joshua's still got his fair share of working class fans, but he has a large proportion, he has a large number of more well-to-do fans, and he also has a very large number of female fans, Anthony Joshua. So maybe I underestimated his fan base. Maybe some of them are, or a lot of them are a lot more hardcore and dedicated than I realized, and maybe that's why pre-sale has done so well. Because as I say, I can't imagine that it's American fans who have snapped up the majority of these pre-sale tickets. Now, the way Eddie Hearn is marketing this is the obvious way to do it. Britain versus America. You've got the Brit invasion, like you had in the 60s in the music industry, where the Beatles went to America and all these British rock bands went to America to try and conquer the market out there. They're playing on that old theme, and they're having a bunch of Brits fight on Anthony Joshua's undercard against Americans. So it's going to be like, the Brits trying to reconquer America. The Americans won their independence ostensibly from Britain, and now the Brits are coming to try to conquer again. That's the way it's going to be marketed, and that kind of thing works well in the United States. Yeah, I mean, if you remember WWE wrestling, whenever you had British wrestlers in there, like the British Bulldog, and I think there was a couple others, they at some point used this very same tactic. The Redcoats, the Brits coming in to try and reconquer America. They use this tactic. It works well in America. People like that. People go for that. The Brit invasion. So that's how Eddie Hearn is going to sell this event. And it's going to be interesting to see what the crowd is like, whether it's going to be a mainly pro-Joshua crowd or whether it's going to be a Jarell Miller crowd. How well can Jarell Miller do in terms of selling the tickets? Because you have to imagine Jarell Miller is going to be all over the media in New York. He's going to be all over the media. He's going to be on the Breakfast Club. He's going to be on all the local radio stations. He's going to be on all the local television stations and national television stations. They're going to do a very good job, I'm sure, of building this fight up and hyping this fight up. I've got absolutely no doubt about it. And Jarell Miller, from a marketing point of view, is the perfect dance partner for Anthony Joshua. Perfect. Because Jarell Miller can talk. In fact, I would say that only Tyson Fury is a better talker than Jarell Miller in the heavyweight division right now. Yeah, only Tyson Fury. Behind Tyson Fury, Jarell Miller is the best talker, from what I've seen. So, and remember, they are trying to sell this fight to a whole new audience. They're trying to sell this fight to a bunch of people who don't know AJ and don't know Miller. And because of that, Miller's ability to talk is going to be very, very important. Yeah? Sometimes you can talk people into believing you. In fact, many times, if you have the gift of the gab, you can do that. You can talk people into believing what you're saying. So whether Miller is a good fighter or whether he's garbage, as the Wilder and Fury supporters are claiming he is, in terms of whether or not this fight is going to be a success, it's kind of irrelevant. Because you've got a blank canvas, you've got a clean slate in the United States with these two fighters. And this is the first time that either of these two has really done a big sales pitch to the American public. So the American public doesn't have any reason to distrust them yet. So I think this fight might do better than a lot of people expect right now in terms of ticket sales, in terms of people signing up to watch it on DAZN, etc. Because the people behind DAZN have got a lot of money. The fight's in NYC against the New Yorker, the Brit invasion theme. New York is a hub of media in the United States. It's the unofficial capital, as I said in a previous video. So, and a very good talker in Jarell Miller. I think this fight can do well in terms of the number of people who are going to watch it, the hype it creates, etc., etc. And one last thing I'll mention as well is I talked about the crowd, whether it's going to be a pro Joshua or pro Miller crowd. I have to also talk about the officials, because we're assuming in NYC, a lot of people are assuming in NYC, it's not going to be a pro Joshua situation in terms of the officiating. I'm not so sure about that. I actually think that if there's any bias here when it comes to the judges and the ref, it's going to be bias in favor of AJ. He's the money. Even though he's a foreigner and he's fighting a native on their soil. And when I mean native, I mean native New Yorker. I don't mean, Native American. But he's fighting a native New Yorker in New York. Despite that, AJ's the money. He's the one who DAZN and Matchroom have invested an enormous amount in. So I'm not expecting, even though it's in his hometown, I'm not expecting Miller to get any favors from the judges. And this is not no hating video. I'm not hating on AJ. I'm just being real. Like, there is the whole A-side thing in boxing. There is the whole house fighter thing in boxing. It's a real thing. Canelo is somebody who I think is a fantastic fighter. But I'm not going to ignore the fact that he's had favorable treatment when it comes to officiating in many of his fights. Of course he has. That's just business. That's the way it works. It's unfortunate and it's unfair, but that's the reality. And in this fight here, Joshua Miller, I'm expecting the same thing. If we get fair officiating, I'll be pleasantly surprised. And if we get unfair officiating, which is actually in Miller's favor rather than AJ's favor, I'll be shocked. So we'll see what happens here, people. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out.
Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.